Hi and welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin. Today we are going to be very briefly recapping what we did last time, and then we're going to move straight on to some practice exercises. So last time we learnt that verbs of the first conjugation go like amor, amor, amas, amat, amamus, amatis, amant. We knew from last time that if a verb goes like that, it behaves in exactly the same way. So the verb canto, which means I sing, goes canto, cantas, cantat, cantamus, cantatis, cantant. But now we're going to get our pens out and we're going to start writing. So if I were to say to you, what is the Latin for she loves, your answer is going to be amat. And you're going to write that down, A-M-A-T. If I say, what is the Latin for they build, you're going to have to do two things. You're going to have to say, well, what is the Latin for I build? And that is idifical. And then you've got to run your idifical down the conjugation until you get to the third person plural, which is the one we need for they. So in your head, if you like, you're going idifical, idificas, idificat, idificamus, idificatis, and then out comes your pencil or your pen and you're writing idificant, A-E-D-I-F-I-C-A. All of that was the stem, and then the ending, N-T for they. So I might say, what is the Latin for we are singing? Okay, and again you're thinking, okay, what's the Latin for I sing? It's canto. Which person do we need to get to we? And that's the first person plural. So you're going canto, cantas, cantat, cantamus. And you're writing down cantamus, C-A-N-T-A-M-U-S. Okay, that's going into Latin. Equally, if I say, what does this mean? And I say, idificat. You hear me say idific and you're thinking, right, that's what idific, that's from idifical, which means I build, and idificat must be he, she, or it builds. I don't know which you're going to find easier. Personally, I find it easier going into Latin. It's certainly the best way to learn this language. If you can write it in Latin, you know you're not guessing. You're absolutely getting it right. But equally, of course, you have to be able to recognize what somebody else has written in Latin. Just before I kick you off to do some work on this, little thing about the present tense and these various different ways of translating it. You'll notice that sometimes I'm saying something like, she sings, and then I might also be saying she is singing. The present tense in English can be translated in three basic ways. So the word amamus in Latin could either mean we love, but it could also mean we are loving, and it could also mean we do love. Now, depending on the context of what it is you're saying or what is being said to you, one or other of those will be the more appropriate one to use. So, for example, if I said to you, what are you doing now? You might say, I'm learning Latin. But if I said, what do you do on Fridays? You might say, I learn Latin. So what's the difference? I am learning Latin. I learn Latin. And equally, I might say, you don't learn Latin, do you? And you might say, I do learn Latin. In English, therefore, we have three ways of translating the one Latin verb, amor. So it's I love, I am loving, or I do love. And this happens in the other persons as well. So, for example, in the third person singular, it could be he loves, but it could also mean he is loving, or he does love. As I've said before, when you learn Latin, you learn a shed-load of grammar which is useful for English. If we're honest, more useful to know it for your own language, English, than it is for Latin, but the two go hand in hand. And of course, English grammar, as we understand it, for hundreds of years, was laid out pretty much to copy the way Latin grammar worked. And so all of our concepts, all of our groupings of words in English have been heavily influenced by the way Latin grammar works. So when you're learning Latin, you're learning English. Okay, so you've got to the end of your second lesson in Latin, and I hope you've got the hang of that. Next time, we're going to be learning another tense. So it's quite a fast-paced course. Next time, we're going to learn the future tense, sometimes called the future simple tense, and that is going to tell us what we will be doing in the future. So, hope you enjoyed this lesson. Subscribe to this channel for videos every Friday. Hit the alarm bell to be reminded that they're coming. Don't forget, we've got a playlist for the grammar that we use in English, and the whole course is going to be on a playlist as it's built. So good luck with this. See you next time.